Mr. Lund, we are here. Thank you very much for joining the High Button podcast. I do appreciate it. Not sponsored by Moosehead Beer, but
not quite. But we're brand loyal, like I said. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. You know, I played. I was 8 games in.
Did you?
8 games in.
Really, 8 games? That's wild, man.
You know, a big part of my hockey success was your mom. She was my principal at Halifax West, and academics wasn't a big part of my life growing up, and I definitely made some mistakes. And your mom had my ass. She covered me. She covered me.
I mean, I hear these stories all the time. They can go one of 2 directions. Like your mother buried me and ruined my life, or your mother got me out of a rut and put me on the straight and narrow. I was never really an academic myself, so she was able to rein me in when I needed it too. So yeah, great woman.
Great woman.
Yeah.
Great woman.
Chicky Lund.
Chicky Lund, yeah. That's what, because my mom's friends with her. And
okay.
Chicky. Yeah. Who's Chicky? I was like, your old principal. Yeah, Chicky. I like that. So yeah, man, thank you for coming. I really do appreciate this. This is I feel like a long time coming. I remember hearing your name, years ago, and when you switched over to the acting side of things, your name kind of became a little bit more of a headline, of a profile, like, oh wow, this guy can do both. He's an athlete and he knows how to remember lines. So maybe this guy's a little talented in both aspects of life. So I remember back in those days, your name was always coming up and your name was always recommended to come on the podcast. So now that you're here, it's awesome to talk to you. And I know we were together this summer playing at Osprey Ridge doing the golf.
That was a blast.
The boys were saying you could golf, and you definitely hit the ball there pretty well.
I hit it pretty well into the woods that day. It was not my best day. Let the record show. I'm a lot better than that when the cameras aren't rolling. But no, that was a really fun day. Love that you guys put that together. That was perfect. I'd love to do more of that kind of stuff. Like,
it's fun.
It's very popular these days. The mic'd up
cheap
golf
content.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I mean, that's usually it's like I said, I'm better most days, but golf is so humbling, and it's just worth catching those moments. Like it's pure gold sometimes when you just fly off the handle, and it was nice to let the F-bombs fly because that's a typical round too. Yeah.
And I heard you also play lacrosse.
Yeah. I mean, I played lacrosse for a stint, but then I was not so kindly asked to give up the sport for life, basically, because at the time I was a very large kid. This was like when we were playing Pee-wee and Bantam hockey, and like I was, I don't know, a significant few inches taller than everyone else I was playing with. And I never really took lacrosse all that seriously. It was just something to do in the off season, and I was more so a hockey player and was married to that sport. So I kind of didn't take it all that seriously and just went out there and was headhunting quite a bit. And I injured a few kids to the point where they were like, all right, like this is ridiculous. Like you clearly don't care enough about this to like make it a legitimate outing for yourself. So please hang up the stick.
I love that's a lot of kids from around here had that experience because it was popular for that like 1 maybe 2 years when it first came around.
Yeah.
And everyone just got a little taste of it, and you liked it, you didn't.
Yeah, some guys like really went on and had great careers in lacrosse, like even if they weren't the best hockey players. I'm thinking of guys like Ted Mills, who was a terrible skater but a great lacrosse player. Do you know?
That guy scared I remember I got called up to midget from Bantam. And he always Ted Mills. He's always, he has milk cartons for like shoulder pads. Like that was always a thing for him. Like just the toughest guy, tough as nails. First game getting called up to midget. The guy's fighting the team. But Ted Mills, that's a throwback.
Yeah, it is, no doubt. Yeah, we were best buddies back in the day, man. All those Halifax Hawks. A good squad, tons of good boys on that team that you all went to school with.
Yeah. Where did you go? QEH?
I went to QEH. Yeah.
We have like as soon as I announced that you were coming on the podcast, our DMs were filled with bring this up. So I hopefully I remember all of them, but we'll get to that. But I want to start back to your younger days and talk about the game of hockey and who introduced it to you. Did it come naturally to you? And how did the start of your hockey career turn out? Well,
my dad was a hockey player growing up in St. John, New Brunswick, home of Moosehead Breweries, as a matter of fact. So he and his brothers played hockey forever. My earliest memories of hockey were of going to the rink with him, on Wednesday nights at Dalhousie Arena. And it was sort of like his night to look after me, and my mom had something else going on. So as a babysitting tactic, he would buy me a big bag of nacho Doritos and just send me up in the stands to eat the bag for the hour and a half that it was or whatever. And then he'd bring me into the dressing room, and I'd meet all the guys. I was very young at the time, and it was my first memory of seeing that many penises. But what it did for me is it showed me the camaraderie of the game, and my dad was always in there cracking jokes and really holding court in the room. And he wasn't the best hockey player, but he had a lot of scrap to him, and he had a very heavy slap shot. They called him, they had a couple of different nicknames for him, but one of them was Jonas Hoaglund. Remember that player?
No.
Wow, I think he played for the Leafs or the Canucks back in the day, but he was a puck hog, and so they called him Hoaglund. And there was another one they called him High, Hard, and Wide because he'd take clappers all the time, just come nowhere near the net. So I was immediately thrust into playing hockey. I started skating when I was 2 years old. And I wouldn't say it came naturally to me. What did come naturally to me was size. Like, I grew very fast. I was always the biggest one in my class.
Yeah.
So, and I'm a January birthday.
That's good.
So, yes, exactly. I have like 11 months on some of the other guys, so I was just that much bigger. So in novice, I remember I was living in Dartmouth at the time. In novice tryouts, I remember crying on the bench. I was playing forward at the time, and I was like, I'm never going to make this team. Like, my dad's going to disown me. And one of the coaches, he sort of sat me aside, and he was like, have you ever tried defense? And I was like, no, my dad, he was a centerman. Like, I always just assumed that I was going to be like him, a goal scorer. So he tried me out on defense in novice, and I loved it. I just had that mindset. I was just more defensive than I had a nose for the net. I was never a goal scorer. My stats could tell you. I started to fill the net a little bit in Bantam because of that famous slap shot that I inherited from my father, but was never a goal scorer. Was much more of a goal preventer. So after novice AAA, I got my first kind of taste of rep hockey, and I just kind of ran with it then. I was able to get a lot more better coaching and like more reps, and I started to go to Andrews Hockey School in Prince Edward Island.
Yeah,
and that's where it all just sort of came into
Sid
place.
said too. He's like, that helped him out a lot too.
Definitely, and I actually was roommates with Sid when I was there my first year.
No.
Yeah, it's funny.
Give me a story.
So yeah, my dad and I check into it was Slemon Park in Summerside. It's like an old army base there, where they had the rink, and that's where the camp operated for a number of years. And so they had us all staying in these dormitories, and my dad and I checked into my room, and my roommate he had already checked in, but he wasn't there at the time. And so me and my dad were snooping around, and we looked into the closet, and there are like Raiders jackets and like Nova Scotia Selects, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, this guy's clearly pretty good. And then we saw a puffer there, and we read the name. It was like Sidney Crosby, and we both looked at each other, we're like, never heard of him.
Really, back then, he didn't have a name.
Yeah, no, exactly.
No.
He was like, well, I would have been 12, so he was like
8.
No, he's 2 years older than me.
Oh,
he's
older than you.
87. I'm an 89. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe he was 13 and I was 11. I think that's how it went.
Okay.
And I didn't see him until like late that night when he had just gotten off the ice after being on the ice for like 16 hours. He was like the instructor at the time, and he just lived on the ice. And he was sitting there, like when I came in the room, he was sitting there just out of the shower on his bed, just panting. And I'm like, what's up, dude? And he's like, hey, man. Big smile on his face. Just a real kind of like dorky kind of guy. And we didn't really get along that well. I found he was like kind of boring, and I was looking for something with a little bit more excitement. So I actually asked to switch rooms. Did you? A different roommate. Yeah. Well, he was never there. I was like, doesn't sound like fun. He's, really nice guy, of course. Like, obviously we've watched him. He's an ambassador for the sport, not to mention an ambassador for our province, but not the most exciting guy. I'll go on record and say that, and I don't think anyone will refute it.
I'm sure he'll agree with you too. He's
amazing. I'm a huge fan of his. Love his work. Actually watched him score a hat trick on Friday. That was awesome.
Great shootout win the other day too.
Yeah,
so calm.
Yeah. And I've seen him do that too, like on the ice, just wait the goaltender out, pick a spot, fire it. Usually 5-hole. But yeah, just money. Anyway, but not the most exciting roommate to have at 11 years old when I'm looking to turn up at, like you said, I'm on vacation in PEI. Let's go.
He's there practicing a shootout move back then when he's 13. And
yeah,
exactly. That's the born nature.
He's dialed in. Yeah, that's right. I mean, that goes to show the difference between him and I.
Hey, but you moved on. and you played some high-level hockey. Going to the Dartmouth Subways, and that's another area where, Sid played.
Yes, yeah, he did.
And I remember back then when I was younger. Do you want a tissue, by the way? I know it's cold down here. My apologies.
No, I'm
sure. If you need one, they're right there.
Thanks, man.
The nose could run down here. The heat bill.
I'm more likely to start crying, actually, so it's good to have them handy.
I remember when I was younger, the Major Midget League had such a buzz about it. I remember names like Hum. You remember names like Jared Grant. Duffy was there, and even back when with Sid. Maybe back then I didn't know too much about the league, but I remember going to see some of those games at the Dartmouth Sportsplex, and 1,000, maybe 700 people there, and you're amazed by the level of skill of some of these players, the physicality. And I remember playing, maybe it was Pee Wee, Bantam, I don't know what it was, and just being like, this is really a year's difference from where I'm going to be. And I remember watching those Subway games and just being so impressed. And what was it like playing back in the day for the Nova Scotia Major Midget League and then the Subways? Did it have that effect on you being a player, or maybe not so much?
Certainly did. No, yeah, I went to those games as well.
Did you? Okay.
I saw Sid play back in the day. We have a really good connection to a guy that he was very involved with the team. His name is Graham Owen, and he's actually going through a round of chemotherapy for a cancer that he has. So wishing him the best of luck. He's quite a name around the Dartmouth Subways organization, always was, and his son and I played minor hockey together. So knowing that he was affiliated with the Subways, he took our novice AAA Dartmouth Whalers team into the Subways dressing room to sort of do a little one-on-one bonding with an older player. So we're, 10 or 11, and these guys are 16, 17. Like, we're looking up to them like they're gods. And so we got to see, the facility that they had, and they were so cool. And I remember one of the guys, what's his name? Oh, my goodness. God, I can't remember his name right now. But he introduced me to the Beastie Boys, and I went out and bought the Beastie Boys CD after that. It was a very pivotal moment in my life where I was like, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to play. So that was a goal of mine for the next few years until it actually became a reality. Storied franchise. We had Brad Crosley as our coach, and he was, the coach coming out of Nova Scotia. He's the guy that you wanted to be with, and he had a massive influence on me as a person and a hockey player. So when our team was stacked that year too, we had Jeff Hum, we had Blake Gallagher, who was, I think, pound for pound, one of the best hockey products of Nova Scotia. It's just a shame that he kind of came up when he did before things started to change in the game, and there's now a lot shorter, smaller players. This guy was just a few inches shy of being recognized as a top-tier talent. It's really the only knock against him that you could say. Otherwise, it was an amazing player. But what an experience. Just, filling that barn every night. We went 36-6, I think, that year. It was wicked. Just domination. We lost in the Atlantic finals, tragically, but what an incredible year of hockey for me. Yeah, can't say enough about that organization. Just loved it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I kind of jumped the gun going all the way to Major Midget because I heard a story about you in Bantam. You played Halifax Bantam AAA, correct?
Yeah. I moved second year of Adam. So I was 12 years old, moved to Halifax from Dartmouth.
So I heard a story you were at a tournament somewhere, I don't know where, and you know what tournament food is: Subway, chili, hot dogs,
Mario's,
whatever you can get.
Yeah.
And I heard a story about you. It was, I don't know if it was a final, semifinals, whatever, but you guys went out to eat somewhere, and everyone, they had what they had: nachos, chicken, they got whatever, and you got a bowl of fruit. And the guy who told me this is one thing about Lund that always caught my eye was the discipline the guy had when he was so young.
Yeah.
When most guys are in band and whatever, they're just gonna have a slice of pizza and go play a game. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
But you were kind of stood out because you just had a little bit more discipline, and you knew, I guess, ways to make your performance better in the game of hockey. And you had a bowl of fruit, and then that obviously can help you.
Yeah,
Where did that discipline come from?
I think the bowl of fruit was probably a bad idea because I had to shit in my pants during the game. But no. I was brought up to believe that I could do anything that I wanted, I guess, is the easiest way to put that.
Who put that in you, though?
That was my parents, for
Okay.
sure. You know, like they instilled that in me, and you know, it's a cliche kind of thing, but I really took it to heart, and it just, I don't know, leadership came pretty naturally to me. I just sort of was able to identify, like, this is what you need to do to succeed, and just stick with that. So, you know, in Bantam, you're 14, 15 years old. And at that point here in Halifax, you know, I can't speak to other places in the world, but like you're going out drinking on the weekends a lot of the time. And I wasn't doing that so much. Like I was kind of hanging back, or I'd go out and not drink. You know, there were like a few omissions that I made in life in terms of lifestyle to prioritize my hockey career. I was very serious about it, you know, and I knew that the goal was to make the NHL, and that was just, I had a one-track mind in that regard. You know, I was just going for it, doing everything I needed to get there, and, you know, little things like eating properly and training a lot, and, you know, saying no to the indulgences that a lot of my peers were getting into at that time. Yeah, I liked the responsibility. I liked being the captain. I liked being the go-to guy. I really thrived in that environment. So setting an example, whether it be on the ice or, you know, giving a motivational speech, that was like a big thing back in the day. You know, before every game, I'd have something different prepared, and you know, it was really off the cuff. I didn't prepare necessarily, but you know, I knew that just before every game, I was going to have to give some sort of motivational, you know, hype up, rah kind of speech, and that became a routine with the core group of players that we came up through in the Halifax Hawks organization that put a lot of banners in that Centennial Arena.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
Halifax Hawks. It's a franchised. It's a franchised organization. They definitely have a name for themselves. Did you go to the Quebec PB tournament by any chance?
We didn't. No, we went to some other one, I think. Or maybe we did. I can't remember. Jeez, it's a long time ago now. I feel like, yeah, I think we may have. There was two. There was one in Quebec and then one somewhere else.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly now, but yeah, geez, those were the days.
Well, I remember, like, it's cool how you say, look, back then, you're like, yeah, I love getting up in front of the boys and giving a little speech, which kind of comes full circle to what your career is now. And not, I want to say, you're not acting when you're giving those speeches. It's from the heart.
Right.
You're
Right.
telling the boys how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, was there anything in your mind? So, Bantam, how old would you have been?
14, yeah.
So was there,
14.
like, you know, you're done that speech, you're like, yeah, I was pretty good at that. You ever, you know, is there anything that clicked back then?
It wasn't so clear to me then, but it's funny. I was playing in a league recently, just before our most recent shutdown, with a former Halifax Hawks alumnus, Scott Theriault.
Scott.
And I'm sitting next to him in the dressing room, and the guy that runs their team, he's an older guy in his 50s, and we were meeting for the first time, and he comes up to me. We're just, you know, taking the pads off, and he's like, "So, how did you get into acting?" It's a question I've gotten a number of times, obviously, and so I was about to say something, and Scott intervened, and he goes, "If you ever saw him in the dressing room before one of our games, you wouldn't be asking that question."
Man, I wish I would have seen
like,
one.
Yeah. They were hilarious. They, you know.
But were you thinking it? But were you thinking, wow,
So,
I'm good at this?
It didn't, like I said, it didn't really become clear to me or click for me until quite a few years later. But all of those accumulated experiences, just like performing in general, is just in my genetics. I think if you ever met my father and you know, you knew his family, they're joke tellers, storytellers. You know, my grandfather, God rest him, was he was the head of radiology in New Brunswick, and I remember going to the hospital with him to get an MRI. Actually, we'll get to the injuries later, I'm sure, but. He's the kind of guy that would stop every single person that he encountered and tell them a separate, different joke. And so it took us like 20 minutes to get, 200 meters, because every time we ran into somebody, you know, without provocation, he would just launch right into a storyline and just send the person laughing on their way. So it's in my blood. I watched my father grow up, and they were always hosting parties, and he was always holding court and, pulling pranks and making people laugh. And, he was a salesman that would go to these big conferences, and he'd be up there at a podium, and he'd be telling jokes, in front of like hundreds of people, and they were losing it laughing. And I really took to that. I really admired that. And I just thought I'd carry the torch in a way, but I never really figured it out until I was about 18, I guess, is when I started to encounter concussion problems playing hockey. I was with the Mooseheads at the time, and it was looking like I should probably, make a career change or start thinking about doing something that was safer for myself, because I had racked up a number of concussions in a single year, and I was falling out of love with the game, just kind of a little lost. And I got to talking to some very close friends of mine, and I brought up the idea that I had even before I started playing like rep hockey, like back to those novice days when I got so big and I learned how to take a slap shot. That was what got me into rep hockey, and then the rest was like the hard work that you put in and whatever. But before hockey became a real option, I was interested in acting. My family put me into these acting classes at Neptune Theatre here in Halifax, and I did a couple of auditions for commercials and that sort of thing. So it was like I was becoming an actor until I reached a certain point as a kid where it's like no one else, none of my friends are doing this. They're all playing sports. So there wasn't an avenue to take at that age. Hockey took over. And then once hockey was looking like it was probably going to be over, I came back to that dream. Just on a whim, kind of started, surveying my friends, being like, what do you think if I were to do this? Like, do you think that's a viable option for me? And the response I had was overwhelmingly positive. Everyone was just like, yes.
You're looking for their validation almost, like just to make yourself feel, okay, yeah.
Exactly. And what I recognized in their eyes as they were looking back at me, they lit up and they were like, that's perfect. Yeah. You are definitely somebody I could see going on and doing that sort of thing. It came naturally to me in their eyes. So that vote of confidence was very important for me, and I just started to ruminate more and more about it. And I had a lot of conversations with my parents at the time, mainly my mother, who was very supportive of do whatever you want, like if we're going to do this, we're going to do it properly. We're very concerned about your brain at this point. So I understand why you're thinking differently. And I had a few bouts of depression during my junior days. So they could identify that my heart was broken a little bit, and I needed something to pick me up. And maybe that was a total radical change of lifestyle and careers. So her and I got to chatting. We were sort of researching different schools. She said, if you're going to do it, you're going to go to school and you're going to learn, how to do it properly. We found a school in Vancouver that was like an acting for film and television specific program, and I shipped off. Like I within about a month, I had made the decision to quit hockey, and so I instead of showing up for training camp in September with the Halifax Mooseheads, I was on a plane on my way to Vancouver, enrolled at Vancouver Film School.
Dude,
yeah.
You think about that.
I left them high and dry.
You think about that decision, how especially from around here, the kid that grew up in Halifax, dreams of playing for the Mooseheads, and then makes that decision to go, you know what, no, it's my turn to go chase something else that I want. Yeah. It's just talking about it seems just absolutely insane.
And it was at the time. It was, I
don't know if the kids around here do anything to play for the Mooseheads. And wow, you felt that strongly that you could achieve something else. That's unbelievable, man.
I did, yeah. It was unheard of,
Unheard of, yes.
Yeah, I didn't know anyone else that had, that had pursued that path before, so I was...
Very different from around here, too. Kids are acting, what?
Yeah.
Around here, it's...
what?
Yeah.
How do you, give up on hockey? I've used the analogy that... quitting hockey is kind of like getting out of the mafia. It's hard to do. You can't just give up. Most guys that are, players that play a serious level of hockey, they pursue it until its end, right? They go all the way to, playing in the minor leagues or whatever. Like it's hard to just give up, especially when things are like, at their peak. So it would seem, and I had the unfortunate situation with the brain injuries. Like I could have possibly, let myself heal and gotten back into hockey, but like I said, my heart wasn't in it at that time, and I could have pursued it for other people, to appease what I thought my parents would have wanted, which wasn't the case. Thankfully, they were very supportive. But I'm sure not a lot of players who would have been in the same situation would have had the same support that I did. So I'm very grateful that I did, and that was what enabled me to make that radical change.
What fascinates me about that whole thing is that, playing for the Mooseheads and being a junior player, life is comfortable. Life is very good. You're an all-star around here. You talk to a girl, hey, how you doing? I'm Steven. How you doing? What's the life is very, very, very good here. You're comfortable. And for you to go, I'm going to go out west on a plane and pursue something else, you talk to 1,000 people around here. No one will make that decision. No one.
Yeah, I mean, what I hope is that my story, if it ever reaches the right person, will help them perhaps be inspired to do something similar if they find themselves in a similar position, especially if they're encountering injuries that could potentially lead to a lifelong disability. We're talking about really, the culture of hockey is, rub some dirt on it, get back out there. That's definitely changing, and it has started to change. I think when I was encountering my head injuries is when I started to notice a shift, that they were paying more attention to it. But that year, I was too nervous to say anything. I was not reporting my symptoms, so I was going back into the game thinking, I have to make the NHL. Like that's the only goal. I have to get back out there and prove my worth and show the scouts that I'm still of value. But there was a moment where I had a neck injury that was causing my whole body to go numb every time I put my head down, and I was like, this is really scary. And I was about to go out on the ice for a game at home when I came to the trainers, and I was crying about it because I was like, I'm nervous to report this. This could be really bad, but this has been going on for like a month now, and I'm scared to go out there. And it was reflecting in my play too. Like, if you're not comfortable and confident, I was turning the puck over. I was hearing footsteps. I just couldn't go in the corners confidently, that sort of thing.
Especially in the queue back then. The queue back then is not the queue now.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah, and the kind of style of play that I had too, it was just I had no identity out there. I just felt like a ghost. So yeah, it was a decision that I feel very proud of now. I was nervous about it at the time, but if you're a kid out there who's playing hockey but doesn't feel like their heart and soul is in it, or they're concerned about recurring head injuries or any kind of other nagging injury, my message is always that there are options out there. Hockey isn't the end all be all. It's great. We love it. I'm very happy that I pursued hockey to the lengths that I did. It taught me a lot about leadership, how to work in a team aspect, which has lent those skills have transferred over seamlessly into my work on set. So I can see the entire collaborative working in real time, and I can identify if there's miscommunications happening. So I take on that leadership role as the actor on set. I'm very perceptive of these things because of my time as a hockey player, being aware of every single player on the team. But yeah, if you're somebody that grew up in a small town where hockey is like, it's the peak of success in a lot of people's minds, or any other sport for that matter, make sure you're always doing it for yourself and that you're still finding the joy every day, because that was lost on me. And I powered through it thinking that I had to, until I reached a certain point where I didn't have a whole lot of option if I was to consider my health. And I think I made a really, really good choice. I'm very happy with my life now, and I'm still very married to the game. I love hockey. I was, playing pond hockey yesterday, probably going to go out there today, watch a lot of it still. And I'm happy to support the game in all areas. But yeah, there are definitely options.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good message for young kids out there for sure. Yeah. I like how I just really like your analogy with leadership and how you were raised by your parents and how you're not afraid to kind of be an outsider and do your own thing. I think that's what helped you make the decision. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that helped you make the decision to leave the game of hockey and pursue something else. Because if you wanted to be the guy that, was cool, just kept playing hockey, kept doing this, you just would have stayed. But you said, no, I'm going to do what's right for me, even though it's against everyone's, popular opinion. I'm going to go and do something else. And that's a brave thing to do.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And all credit goes to my family and supportive community who nurtured that in me. And I know not everybody has the benefit of that, but I always knew that I was kind of a sheep in wolf's clothing, that I was kind of walking the walk and talking the talk. I did love hockey, but there were aspects of it that I liked more than the pressure or the game itself even. I liked that camaraderie. I liked the storytelling. I would hold court in that dressing room, and those were my moments where I felt most alive. And being that go-to guy, having that responsibility, that was what it was all about for me. So, yeah. And again, those skills, they transferred over really well. Yeah. So, yeah.
I remember when we were golfing at Osprey, it was the first time ever meeting you, and you're a popular guy around here. Even if people know you or don't know you, you just hear stories about you and things you've done in your life. And I was really amazed about how we weren't even in a room; we were at a golf course. But you had an energy about you that kind of controlled the group. Like, if you walk into a room, I feel like you're a guy that just controls your energy and controls the room. And there was probably 7 people there, and you kind of set the tone off the first tee for where the video was going to go. Yeah. And I was like, that's the guy that acts for a living, that knows how to read other people's energy and pursues his own energy on the group. And everything was just kind of set from there. And I thought that was really interesting about you when I first met you, and to hear what you're talking about now, about how when you're younger, and no, I love the room, I love the boys, I love the stories, I love holding court. It's like everything's kind of just coming full circle about your personality and how, I don't know, you've turned it into a career of acting. So I think that's really cool.
That's
man.
awesome.
That's really cool.
I appreciate you mentioning that, and I'm touched that you identified that too.
100%.
That's something I take great pride in. Just sort of reading the energy, reading the room. Being calculated, not in an disingenuous kind of way. Really just wanting the day to go well, making sure things go smoothly. And I have that, that's the kind of dynamic in my family as well. I'm sort of that person that can facilitate a conversation between two people who don't necessarily, who can't communicate for whatever reason. I think I'm an arbitrator at on some level, where I can, bring people together, or make sure this person is comfortable, or make sure that they feel like they're being paid attention to.
That's a good word. I hate it. I like that.
Yeah, even amidst a lot of goings on, or with the cameras rolling and stuff, I think honing into a personal moment and really connecting with somebody is something that it was something that I knew I had, and that I could translate into on-camera work. Cool. I knew that, being able to hone into a single conversation and make that person feel like they were being listened to, that's something, like I said, I take great pride in. So thanks for saying that.
No worries, man. Yeah. So a little bit about myself. I actually lived in Vancouver.
Oh, here we go.
A little bit enough about you here.
Yeah.
This is my part. So I lived in Vancouver for a year and a half.
Okay.
Year and 3/4. Yeah. And I did some background acting work.
No way.
I get paid great money doing background acting work. It's kind of cool. And I dabbled a little bit in the remembering lines and trying to get roles thing. That never really became successful.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, okay. I gave a shot. I lived in LA for a bit too. It was tough to get work because I was a Canadian citizen, and
it's impossible. Yeah.
Possible, but I did it for a bit, and I wasn't a huge fan of I wasn't a huge fan of the personalities that I was like dealing with every day. There were some people that were just full of themselves. There were some people that were really hard to talk to. And with acting and background acting, at least, there's a lot of waiting around and talking to people who I don't know and
necessarily care about.
Exactly. But they're telling me their life story, who their mom is and stuff. And so, all right, relax. So that was always tough for me. And that kind of I'm not going to use the excuse that I gave up on acting because that was the thing. I just didn't truly love it. But I always found that was a thing that turned me away from it. Yeah. And you coming from the Maritimes, and you're a great guy. You're personal. You know how to talk to someone. You genuinely care about people. Mm-hmm. Going into that acting environment, how did you deal with maybe personalities like that?
That's a good question. I've done some background work too. I did some here in Halifax before I went to Vancouver Film School, just sort of kind of get a vibe of the set. And after doing background work, I was like, yeah, I'm never doing this again. This is not what I want to do. I want to be, in front of the camera. I want to be, because a lot of waiting around, like you said, and, I want it to be the focal point. I want it to be more important, I guess, is the easiest way to put it. And it's funny you mentioned LA because I've been acting now for, 11 years.
You have 41 credits on it, IMDb.
Is that all? Jeez,
2000
should be a lot higher. So I've lived in Vancouver for 2 years, Toronto for 10, and I've made countless trips down to LA. I think I've been down there like 10 or 12 times, for different reasons and for months at a time. And just let me tell you, there's a very good reason that I live in Halifax and not Los Angeles. I couldn't do it. I think I sound like a broken record if, people have ever heard me talk about how much I dislike LA. It's the land of broken dreams. There are just so many people there vying for such a coveted few positions. Being employed down there is such a rat race at all. I just feel like it's the kind of place that forces you to big up yourself in order to stay competitive. And it just breeds a lot of dishonesty. I just found that people were fake,
lying to each other
to their faces. It's unbelievable.
I know this guy who's going to do this for me. I know.
It's a joke. I couldn't stand it, man. And every time I'm down there, I'm running. And it's time to leave. I'm running out of there. Get me the fuck out of this goddamn place. I hate it here. So that was never of interest to me. I always wanted to focus on the craft itself. And then keep my friend group and my immediate circle very normal, very, real, kind of having different jobs. Some of them creative, some of them not. Just having a circle of people around me that I could relate to on a very human level and not be inundated by the industry or who's who or rubbing elbows or going to these schmoozy events is just never my thing. Or even presenting myself on social media as somebody who's there for anyone else but myself. I'm not trying to pander to anybody, and that's helped keep my head level rather than become desperate or just to
picture in front of a Ferrari just to get the recognition.
I never wanted to be somebody who was grasping for something that was intangible. I just wanted to be living my own life on my own terms and going about this in the way that I feel most comfortable. And that meant not being in LA, I think, for many reasons that I'm very grateful for. I'm back here living in Halifax and loving it in so many ways. Just like the community, having my friends and family around, just keeping me grounded, and getting back to my roots. In the simplest form of just being a good, honest person, and not chasing something that doesn't feel within my grasp, I guess is the way that I would put it. So,
what's the most rewarding thing about your job?
I played a lot of hockey, as we've talked about. And, the recognition that you get for something you do on the ice, it usually amounts to a tap on the ass or a hit on the head or a fist bump or something like that. The feeling that you get when you know you did a good job and you bared your soul and you showed your heart in front of the camera when you needed to at a moment's notice, all the preparation, all of the work that you've done to get yourself to a good spot mentally and physically, and you know that you delivered, and you see that recognition from the director, the producer, the writer, your scene partner, that is the high that I will chase for the rest of my life.
Really?
Yes.
Fuck, that's so well put.
And it's really that moment. That's the only thing that I'm interested in. Everything else is just, it just comes with the territory. It's not really of interest to me. I don't want to be famous. That's not something that I've ever declared that I was pursuing. I never said that I wanted to be a famous actor. I always said that I just wanted to be an actor, because that moment is the greatest payoff I've ever had. And I remember when I first felt it, I was 18 or 19 at the time, playing for the Mooseheads. It was in the off season, and this is around the time that I was, talking to those people in my life, my mother most namely, about whether or not I should become an actor. And she goes, well, let's see if you got what it takes, basically. And I was like, okay, what do you mean? Like, do you want me to do something right here, right now? She said, no, obviously not. We're going to get you an audition for something that's filming locally, and you're going to go in the room and, give it a shot. And if you like it, great. If you don't, then we'll know, right? So I was like, very good plan, Chickie. So we contacted this family friend, Valerie Hallman, who works for Magic Rock Productions here in Nova Scotia. They do a lot of things. They are actually just shooting an American sci-fi TV show out in Beaverbank this past season.
Okay.
They've done movies and television in Halifax for 20 plus years, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, connected person who's also a family friend. So we get in touch with her. She gets me an audition for this coming of age, like indie movie that's shooting in Halifax that year. And I'm working at the hospital at the time. This is like July. As a porter. So I'm like carrying patients around, transferring like blood samples, and like running around doing all the odd jobs that need doing in the hospital. Great gig. Loved that so much. And so there was an audition. It was happening on South Park Street, and I was at the Halifax Infirmary, so right across the street. So I show up in my scrubs, and, it's in a dark room. Like, I can't see anybody. There's like one spotlight in a corner and a camera set up. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And somebody comes and greets me, and they're like, hello, Stephen. Like, welcome to like the audition. And I'm like, yeah, cool. And so they sit me down in the chair and basically just say action. And I'm like, I freeze. And I'm like, right. And I go into the scene, do the scene, and they call cut. And again, I can't see anybody. Like, the light's in my face, and I know there's like a panel of people back there, but they're in the shadows. I don't know what the hell's going on. And then this guy gets up, and I can see the glint off of his like balding head, and he comes closer to me. It's a small little man, and he looks up at me, and he goes, "Who are you?" And I was like, "My name is Stephen Lund. I'm from Halifax, and I just got here from work." And but like, as I told this story before, as this like is happening in real time, quickly in my mind, I'm going like, oh my God, like I'm going to get this role. I'm going to get my first role that I ever auditioned for. And I'm just thinking ahead like, damn, that's going to make for a hell of an A&E biography story. And he goes, have you ever done this before? And I was like, no, not since I played one of the hyenas in The Lion King in grade 3 or grade 4. I went to Shannon Park Elementary School in Dartmouth, and we had this great drama teacher who did a rendition of The Lion King. This is back when I thought I was going to be an actor before I started playing hockey. And that was a great thrill of mine that I had kind of forgotten about until all of this stuff was coming up. And I was like, yeah, I stole the show once in grade 4, but other than that, no, I've just been busy taking slap shots and missing the net since then. And he goes, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you home with some notes. And I want you to come back here tomorrow. Do we have a time for him tomorrow? And they're like, yeah. How does 12 o'clock? I'm like, yeah, 12 o'clock, sure, yeah. And then we'll do that, and then I'll book and then we'll make the movie, and then we'll just go straight to the top, you and me, baby. And he's like, okay, come back tomorrow. yada, yada. So I went home and I studied and I applied the notes as best I could. I started seeing the script in a different way, and I was just like, oh, man, this is sick. This role is for me. And I come back the next day, and he's working with me a little bit, and then they call action. I do the scene, and it feels so much better. I just feel like I'm crushing this. Like, we're really there. Like, I'm living in a moment that is make-believe but feels very real. And I'm like, wow, this is cool. Holy crap. Like, this is it. We're doing it. And after the scene is done, calls cut, and then the same guy emerges from the shadows again with his hands open like this, and he goes, do you feel that? And I was like, I'm just freaking out. I got goosebumps all over my body. I still do, just thinking about that moment again. And I'm like, wow, oh my God, I've never felt more validated in all of my years playing hockey than what this man just did for me right now. And he goes, that is amazing. Like, look how much better you did in just that one day. And I was like, holy shit. And he goes, now, obviously, I can't give you this role because you've never done anything before in your life. And I was like, right, obviously. Of course, I knew that the whole time.
Back to the hospital pushing pages.
Yeah, shit, didn't get this one. But he goes, "Are you thinking about doing this?" And I was like, "To be honest, like, yeah, like me and my mom have been talking, and like we've been looking at this school out in Vancouver. It's a film school for television and film, or acting school for film and television." He just puts his hands on my shoulders and he goes, "Go west, my son." And I was like, "You gotta be fucking kidding me!" And I just sprinted home like a grown man, just like God. Judd Nelsoning like from the end of Breakfast Club, just like punching the air. I was just like, "Yeah, this is the greatest feeling I've ever had." I ran home. I busted down the door. I was like, "Mom, I didn't get the role, but I can do this." And she's like, "All right, let's go." And we applied for Vancouver Film School right then and there, and I shipped off a month later.
Get the fuck out. That is a crazy
Jay
story.
Dahl is his name.
Jay Dahl.
Go
west, my son.
Dahl. Yeah, I've told this story a couple of times before, but I haven't run into him since that day. I think he still works here in Nova Scotia.
That is crazy.
Yeah,
what a line. Go west, my son.
Go west, my son.
You ever heard the song?
Maybe he didn't say that, and that's just how I remember it.
No, he said
but
that.
No,
let's keep it like
you're
that.
Right.
Go west.
He definitely said that.
Yeah, that's an
What a
unbelievable
line.
story.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the song California by Led Zeppelin? Going to California.
About 6,000 times, yeah. It's my favorite band, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Dude, their not documentary, but when they play at Madison Square Garden, and at the very end, when they go back in the limo, they jump on their plane. And
Pegasus, yeah.
Is that what the plane was called, Pegasus?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Anyway, when I went out west, I heard that song California by Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
And then what's the flight out west? 5 hours.
Yeah.
I probably listened to that song for like 3 hours of the whole.
That's awesome.
It just sets the tone for dreams out west.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And that's what they wrote it about. Like they loved going to California and playing there. They were welcome with open arms there every time. And it was a different vibe to it, for sure. California is different than LA.
But it's the same meaning. Going to Vancouver wouldn't have sound cool. The song. Going to Vancouver with the sunset on my mind. That's sick. You ever seen the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yes.
And remember when Leo finishes that scene with the girl, and the girl comes up to him and whispers,
"That was the best."
That's what I'm kind of picturing with you when you're like, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, it wasn't the best acting that they had ever seen, but it was the best acting that I had ever done up until that point.
But like when I ask you, like, what's the thing what's the most rewarding thing? It's like I kind of feel like that's
that moment, that recognition.
That's
it. To hell with anything else. I don't even care if it makes the television. I don't watch a lot of my stuff. I don't really care. I don't do it for anything else but that moment. I love that shit. I love being on set and walking off, feeling the pats on the back, knowing that like we had a big day to get through. And you nailed it. And we only made the day because you were prepared and you knew all of your fucking lines inside and out. And you hit your mark and you said your piece. Yeah, I'm definitely not the greatest actor. That's for sure. Maybe someday I'll get there, but I'll be pursuing it the rest of my life. There is no end goal for me. There is no, sitting back or resting on your laurels or anything like that. Because all I'm focused on is that moment with my scene partner.
Cool.
And that was something that was drilled into me at that film school, and I really took that to heart. I remember on day one, I'm there, there's like 35, 40 other people in this auditorium, and they're giving an orientation speech, the head of the program. And he's looking out and he's like, you know, I see all of you ambitious faces and your eyes looking up at me. And the reality of the matter is, in 5-6 years' time, 1, maybe 2 of you will be working professional actors. And I remember looking out at all of those faces and just being like, oh no, you just wasted 30 grand on this because it's going to be me. I'm going to be, there was no doubt in my mind. Like, I just wasn't there to fuck around. Like, this was something that I was going to make happen for myself one way or another. Yeah, anyway.
Does the confidence of playing hockey when you were younger, even the mooseheads, whatever, the leadership ability, does that give you the confidence almost to like knock on someone's trailer who you're about to do a scene with and be like, come on, let's go over lines? Because I feel like that's not like a common, it might be a common thing, but yeah. I feel like a lot of actors like, I know the line, my partner will know the line, but you said you're looking for chemistry with the person you're working with.
Well, here's the thing, like you pointed out like my ability to read the room,
yeah.
You know, and I think I don't really consider myself to be a selfish person, but I think in order to be good, you need to listen. You know, I'm talking about technically as an actor, like the things you need to possess are the ability to listen to your scene partner. So, you know, you're not just looking back at them with blank eyes and you're thinking about your next line. You're taking it in, what they're saying. But that ability to read the room, like you said. So some people, they have a different process, you know, what is necessary for them to get to that place of, you know, openness and preparedness is for them to do their own thing. So you don't go up to them and say, hey, can we go over these lines? If you know that that's not what they need.
Interesting.
Now, the hazard of that is that I am so considerate of my scene partner, of everybody else on the set, that sometimes I don't own my own moments or ask for the things that I need. And so that unselfishness that comes from playing hockey and being on those teams and, you know, doing whatever is necessary to make the team win, not for the personal accolades, can sometimes be a hindrance to me as a performer. So I know that I really lent myself to my scene partner and everybody else, but my performance might fall a little flat because of that, because I'm showing up so much more for them. And I'm so cognizant of that. I'm very, you know, that is sort of my MO when I'm on set. I want to be that very accommodating actor who isn't selfish, who can do anything that you need me to. Anything you need, I will give it to you.
But can that hurt you, though?
It can, I think. You know, I think a lot of the time I'm working with people, and in the moment, on the day is the term that they use. So on the day, in that moment, I'm thinking, God, they're not even listening to me. They're not, you know, like... And I think my performance falls flat because of that. And then I watch it back, and their performance is so captivating. Whereas I thought, like, I was pissed off that day because I didn't feel like there was very much of a connection. But they were focused on themselves. They knew what they needed to do to bring their best performance out. Whereas I think I'm a little bit too conscious of what it would take for the other person rather than owning my own moments, I guess. So there's a balance there that you got to strike.
Remember when Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci met in the desert on Casino? And Joe Pesci always says the reason that scene is so great is because Robert De Niro let me be great. You know, Robert De Niro is an amazing actor. He does incredible things. He's been in incredible movies. But Joe Pesci, he's no, you know, fart in the wind. He's a good guy. He's a great actor.
Yeah.
And he's like, the reason that scene was so great is because Robert De Niro stepped down and let me.
Yeah.
So kind of like that's kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
Like you don't mind.
Yeah, okay. I think there's a, as you can attest to being in LA, there's a lot of ego.
Yeah.
When it comes to this industry, a lot of people thinking that they should be the one, they are the best. You know what I mean? And you need to have thick skin, so ego can certainly help you to a degree. But egos can get in the way of a good product as a whole, and so I've tried to dissolve my ego as best as possible.
Cool.
On set and let it just get to the level it needs to by any means necessary. However, there are instances where I haven't taken enough of what I need, and therefore when I see the final product, I can tell exactly what I'm doing, and it falls flat.
Cool.
So I'm reconciling with that and trying to get better at that every time I get the opportunity to do so. Which in this industry is unfortunately seldom. It's just it's hard out there.
Yeah. What characteristic traits do you look for in an agent?
Well, I've had the same agent, God love her, for 10 years now.
No way.
Yeah, Amanda Rosenthal. She's amazing.
Sorry, are you good? Sure. Okay. Yeah. Keep going.
She's a wonderful human being. What I look for in an agent is a friend, a personal friend. And I told her that from day one.
So friendship first, business second?
Friendship first, yes, definitely. I think they need to know who I am and what I need and what I want, and also be able to shoot the shit with me. This is like one of my closest friends. And, you know, she's like 10 years older than me, so it's, you know, not a severe disparity there. So we have a lot in common still, you know. We can sit down for dinner and talk about 10 other things before the topic of my career is ever even brought up. And that's something that I've always considered a value personally. That's not always the case for a lot of people. They need, you know, a real shark. They need somebody who's straight business, just not going to bullshit them. You know, she's not going to bullshit me. She'll listen to everything that I have to say and be very accommodating because we have that personal connection. You know, she can always also tell me when I'm being a little bitch or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
You need that.
I need that, exactly.
Everyone needs that.
I think so.
Everyone needs that.
I think you need it.
I need it. I need it for sure.
But yeah, she's the best. She's one of the best agents in Canada. She's done very well for herself, and she runs a small boutique type agency. That's something that that I consider very important too. Not just being lost in the shuffle of, like, you know, 200 clients. She's got a tight 35 type of list where she can keep tabs on every single one of her clients on a daily basis personally. So,
how often do you get scripts?
It ebbs and flows depending on the season. So this past few months has been very slow. Because of COVID? Not necessarily because of COVID, just the winter time. Christmas break, you know, Hanukkah, Christmas. It's a whole month of, like, inactivity. So a show isn't likely to start up in the month leading up to Christmas, and it'll take that long for it to start up after Christmas. So right now we're in a very slow period. And I think once February hits, things will pick up. Typically, that's what they call pilot season.
I've heard of this.
Yeah, so pilot season is February to April, typically.
2 months, okay.
Yeah, 2 to 3 months. It could start earlier or end later. But the way that the model would always work back in the day when there was primetime television is your marquee flagship shows would go to air in the fall. Right, that fall TV back to school season. So things would cast in February, March, April. Then they would shoot the pilot in the spring, and then they would, if they got picked up, they would go for the rest of the series over the summer, so that they were ready to air by the fall TV season.
I gotcha.
That model doesn't exist the same way anymore because of the advent of these streaming services, how things are just being pumped out at random. There's no real template to the order of series, unless you're talking about the ABCs, the NBCs, the CBS, like those networks are still kind of on that same model. So a lot of the things that I'll be getting in the next few months are going to be those ABC pilots, the NBC, like, you know, the things that you see on TV in a couple months' time. I'm going to be auditioning for all of those.
So could you be in New York auditioning? Or how does that, because ABC, NBC, isn't that New York?
No, they're all out of LA.
LA?
They have offices. I mean, NBC, I think, like, their head office is in New York, but they're obviously bi-coastal.
Yeah.
You know, all the film studios are in LA. But yeah, it could be New York. There is a pilot season in New York, but they'll audition out of a number of different cities. So New York, LA, London, Toronto, Vancouver, Chicago, Sydney, Australia. You know, like,
jeez.
They'll put out the call. And so the nice thing about COVID, and the reason that I'm living here in Halifax now, is because you don't have auditions happening in person.
No way.
No, yeah.
I feel like that's a big thing, though. Wouldn't you need them to be in person?
Well, there's an argument to be made there, definitely, and I think a lot of people like different. I like to be in the room.
podcast, I can't do Zoom. I have to.
No, it's shit. It's terrible. I hate it. I completely understand the personal rapport you want to have, but there are lots of people out there who think that it's unnecessary. Ultimately, you're ending up on camera, so what does it matter that you're
That's fair.
I like to show my personality and connect with the people as a person. I like to walk in that room and walk out of that room as myself as much as possible. That doesn't always work. A lot of people just want to see the character, and so I think it's saving a lot of money too. There are definitely going to be a lot of like old school purists who are saying like this is ruining the casting process, but I think it's saving a lot of people's lifestyles, saving a lot of money. What it means is that we can live remotely and audition remotely. So I can be anywhere, including on vacation, in a tropical location, and be submitting my auditions remotely. It doesn't matter. So I moved home to Halifax because Lord knows I could never afford to buy a house in Toronto, but move home and things are entirely different. I've got a studio in my house set up now that I can do all my auditions via Zoom. It's different.
It's a new world.
It is a new world. Yeah, definitely. That has changed our industry possibly forever. I don't know that they'll ever go back to that model, given the convenience of it alone. So, and a lot of people, there's been an exodus out of LA, out of New York, out of Toronto. A lot of my friends have left the city.
Same, just moved back to here.
Yeah.
It's a crazy world we're living in.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
You did too?
He went to Ryerson. He was up at school, and he was like,
I was gonna stay until COVID, and now a year and a half later, I'm still here.
Yeah, there you go. There's so many of those stories, man.
Yeah.
So
all
many.
over the world.
Especially, there's a lot of Maritimers that live in Toronto that just come back.
Yeah.
Or that have come back in the past 2 years.
Or that are planning to come back now too.
Because I'm pretty sure there's a lockdown in Toronto too right now.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to ease them at the end of this month or something. But I've talked to a lot of my friends who are still there, and they're like, you made the right decision to get out of here. Like I miss the hustle and bustle of Toronto, no doubt, and I miss the feeling like you're in the center of the universe in some ways. Everything that happens in Canada sort of filters through Toronto, so you're in the mix kind of thing, and there's events and concerts and stuff happening all the time. But that's not really how it is right now. So
I had a meeting with a gentleman the other day who used to run or still runs a media company up in Toronto. He actually produces these pamphlets here, so like Raptors, and then he'll sell them for the Blue Jays and the Maple Leafs. So he makes these yearbooks, and he recently just moved back to Halifax where he grew up, but he lived in Toronto, started this company, decided to move back because of everything that's happening, but still operates the business here in Toronto. And we were talking about High Button Sports and how he's like, what's your plan with it? What do you think the future is going to hold? And I go, I flirt with the idea of Toronto. If I want to be a serious sports broadcasting media company, I feel I need to be talking to the Raptors. I feel I need to be talking to the Blue Jays and all this stuff. And he looks at me, he goes, dude, you're totally wrong. Halifax is where you need to be right now. It's the coolest up-and-coming market there is in Canada. And I looked at him. I thought he was a little nuts at first, and then I sat back, and I was like, maybe he's kind of right. Wow. People from around here, they love their local sports. They love talking to local individuals, whether it's when it's not on like a newscast and it's a very serious conversation. It's more fun, free-flowing with the podcast.
Yep.
And you have professional sports slowly starting to move in here with the Halifax Thunderbirds. The Mooseheads will always be here, and things are, you talk of a CFL team. But I know, I always would think back to that meeting and about the market here in Halifax, and I think he was right. It's a cool, slowly up and coming market. And
when did you have that conversation?
Like 2 months ago.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So I always think about that.
Yeah, we have a very good friend. My girlfriend's one of her best friends, Tyson Geik. He's the VP of communications for the Thunderbirds.
I've seen the guy. He's like always on camera. With,
blonde guy, tattoos.
Yeah.
Pretty big arms, but not a great arm wrestler.
He had a job with the Canucks, I'm pretty sure.
He did, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he's just moved here to take the job with the Thunderbirds. So there's an exciting new chapter of Halifax sports.
Yeah. And I look at that and I go, okay, wow, this is a guy who had a job with the NHL.
Yeah.
And he's here now.
Yeah. It was it was a lateral move in that it was a bigger position with a smaller organization, but definitely he wants to be in front of the microphone, so like he's getting to do that stuff now, and he's doing a fantastic job. If you ever get the chance to go to a Thunderbirds game, highly recommend it. It is extremely entertaining. a very entertaining product. Like, you don't get the same stuff in a hockey game. I love hockey, obviously, and I'll watch it till the day I die, but it is a more fan engaging outing, I would say. Yeah. Unless hockey, people that go to watch hockey are usually know the game very well. If you don't know anything about lacrosse, you'll have a good time at a game. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to just we had a couple people DM us. How much time are we at?
Hour and 5 minutes.
Hour and 5 minutes?
Hour and 10 minutes.
Are you good for time?
I'm great for time. I do have to pee.
Okay, here's what you're gonna do. Go. You might not like it.
I don't give a fuck.
Go behind this curtain here. There's a sink. Just turn it on. Go.
All right.
Right there.
Sweet.
Just keep it going, Parker.
Hey, get some audio.
Yeah. Other one there. Right there. Yeah. There you go. Turn the left handle on.
Got it.
There you go. I think this is a great episode so far. Are you good? You're good for time though?
Yeah.
You're sure?
Yeah, for sure.
We'll have to after this go. After this, we're gonna have to go on the ice, do something.
Yeah.
I'll have to figure something out. I'm just too much on a high right now. I woke up this morning, and I was just like, today's going to be a good day. Like, I knew he was coming over for the podcast, and I was pumped for it. But I was just like, today's going to be a good day in terms of momentum. We always talk about momentum and this business needing momentum. I don't know. I just feel like momentum's going to come. And I'm just like, these past 2 weeks, I've just kind of been done feeling sorry for myself with live stream going away. It's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I haven't gotten to that point yet.
I know you haven't, but I want to bring up your personal stuff so bad because I feel he has good advice for you. I won't. But yeah. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do the exact same thing. So, Steven, if you don't mind keeping Jeff company for 40 seconds, go for it.
My mom's calling me here, too.
Oh, my God. Take the call.
Where's Mom at?
You should take the call honest. Just wait. Actually, no. Let me come back. I want to talk to her. If you do call her back. Give me a sec.
She needs to put her TV on the wall at her apartment. She needs some strong lads, she said. I guess I got some duties later today.
Wanderers games too?
I went to one Wanderers game. Yeah, great time. We were in one of the boxes and we had like unlimited alcohol, so I didn't pay too much attention to the game. But what I did see, yeah, great atmosphere, great vibe, loved it. Another great Halifax sports outing. The Wanderers games we're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, they're nice to us too. They're very they came here 2 years ago and they gave us media access. They let us talk to the players. They give us tickets for the year, and like whenever we need extra tickets for like our buddies, they'll give them to us. Like they're just so accommodating.
Wow. Yeah.
And they're a group from New York. So like one thing I always stressed when I had our first meeting with them, I'm like, look, you guys are gonna thrive here. You guys have a great team.
Yeah.
And I was just like, one little bit of advice for you, like embrace the community, like as hard as you can, and they will embrace you 10 times more. And they took that advice.
Right.
I'm not saying that's the reason they have success, but they've been doing that. They're in schools, they're in hospitals, they're running camps.
Yeah.
And the community is definitely embracing them, and they're having some success, a lot of success.
Yeah. Everyone's talking about it. I haven't heard a bad word said about that entire organization and the fan experience.
Yeah.
Good for them, man.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll be
all
back.
because of you.
All because of me. Wow. Should be on the team. I was a lacrosse guy too, you know. Big lacrosse. Look around. You got a couple of lacrosse sticks there.
Of course. Yeah. Man, I wouldn't know the first thing to do. I could never really cradle very well. I never had good hands, period.
Really? Yeah, hockey guys usually it comes natural to them.
Yeah, not me. No, I was more of a brute in terms of hockey playing. You know, I was a very physical player. I wasn't known for my dangles. Still not.
Okay, well, I want to talk about hockey for a second, not about your dangles. There's two rumors that you took one slap shot from your far end in high school hockey or junior high hockey and you scored.
Yeah.
And there was one when you took a slap shot from the far blue line and scored.
Yeah.
What gives you the right, and how do you have the balls to do that? Score.
This is gonna sound braggadocious, but I can't remember which specific instance you're talking about because it has happened a few times.
Oh,
Yeah. There was a time in Adam AAA Provincials, I'll never forget it, when there was a puck in our corner. Now, this is Centennial Arena, so not the longest rink in the world, but even in Adam, I took a clapper from below the dot in my own end, and it went top shelf.
Adam?
In Adam, that's right, yeah.
Is that a wooden stick?
It was a wooden stick.
Oh, my God.
It took some sort of, like, hop, but, like, it was, going through the air quite a bit, and then I think it, like, dipped down probably around, like, the top of the circles and went top corner on Chris Banfield.
You know the goalie's name.
Yeah, well, because he was, like, the best goalie, too, and it totally fooled him. It was wild.
And you said your dad had a clapper, right?
My dad had a heavy clapper, yeah, and we had a garage we built a garage next to our house that we never parked the cars in. It was just a huge shooting gallery.
Awesome.
And I just blew the back wall out of it like 2 separate times, just firing clapper. Like I'd shoot 600-700 pucks a day. Like it was crazy.
What?
The calluses on my hands from just shooting pucks all day long.
So as you're shooting those pucks, what are you thinking in your head? NHL, or just get better?
Yeah, it just I think in the back of my mind, yeah, it was NHL for sure, getting that NHL shot. But my dad just told me, like, if you want to get good at something, you got to practice, and that means like really practice. So I'd practice a little bit, and he's like, no, I'm talking like more. So, and it paid off, and he's like, look how it pays off. He's like, this is the direct translation of the work that you put in. Like it's math. It's really just that easy. So, and I quite loved going out there and just letting her fly. Yeah. I would be like 500-600 pucks before dinner kind of thing. Like that was the joke.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
A lot of shots, man. Yeah. So
shots.
I had a really, really heavy shot. And like, again, I was big, but I got my technique down, and I think I just, it was a weapon. So there's a good story about the time I was playing Pee Wee AAA, and I got called up to play Bantam AA in Halifax. So the Pee Wee AAA team had just finished a game, and then the Bantam AA's were going out that night, and they invited me up, and I show up in the dressing room, and there's a guy named Mike Sade, who was
Mike Sade, I know that.
Yeah, you would know that name. He's quite a few years older than you, but he went to the West. And do you know Trevor Gosson?
I know the name. I don't know the guy.
Yeah, so they were related.
Okay.
And
Trevor, is that Spencer's brother?
Spencer's older brother. Exactly.
I think he goes to the gym I go to.
Yeah.
I know him, yeah.
So these guys are on the Bantam team. They're, 2 years older than me. And Trevor has a shaved head, and they had just gotten back from a vacation in Cuba or Mexico.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Like yeah. And I didn't really know Mike at the time, but I'm just lacing up the skates. I don't know anybody really in the room, and I'm kind of quiet, and I look over, and there's Mike Sade with these 2 butane lighters, and he's got them both going, and he looks at me and he goes, "Hey Lund, if you don't score a goal tonight, I'm going to light your hair on fire." And I was like, that's funny, man. And then someone nudges me like, no, he's not kidding. Like, look at Trevor's hair. And his head was shaved because Mike set his hair on fire with his 2 butane lighters when they were on vacation. It's like, this guy's crazy.
So it wasn't a joke.
It was not a joke. So I go out there. We're playing the Bedford Blues. And it was,
This guy's from Bedford.
Is it? No, I knew there's something.
You still got to tell the story.
Yeah. And it was like a 2-1 game, late in the third, like really late in the third. I hadn't scored yet, but I was out in like the final minute of the game, and they had their goaltender pulled. Yeah. And I got the puck, and I'm sweating, obviously. Like this guy's like on the bench, just like mean mugging me, like, this little schmelt, I'm going to like set his hair ablaze. And I get the puck at like the top of my circle, and I wind up from the far blue line and just went bar down. So it was a 3-1 final in like the final 30 seconds. Like, thank God it was an empty net, but yeah.
Got to keep your
bar down, yeah. Got to keep my beautiful locks. Yeah, that was a trip.
There's so many fucked up stories from minor hockey, man.
Yeah.
So
Oh
many.
my God.
Every time we played Bedford, the coaches would come in like, "Oh, let's beat these rich fuckers, these rich fuckers." That's how they'd motivate us.
Yeah.
Pulling up in their Benzes, let's go beat you.
We have no concept of socioeconomics.
Or money,
Like,
yeah, just-
what? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I like their jerseys. They're kind of cool.
Yeah. Some of my friends were on that team.
The coaches are more pissed than the kids.
Yeah.
Rich fucks.
Yeah.
That's amazing, though.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
man. That's
Keep my hair.
you got to keep the hair.
Yeah.
What are you doing the rest of the day?
Oh, I think my mom called to say that she needs help mounting her TV to her wall, so I'm gonna do some sun duties there. Probably hit the gym, straight biceps today.
Monday, big
Monday,
bicep.
big arm day. Yeah. Other than that, not too much, man. Just,
Wicked,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, this is definitely the highlight of the day. So
Highlight of my day. Highlight of my week. Past 2 weeks.
I like that I'm episode 369 too.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very. if you're a 69 or you're the actual like episode 400 or 500,
Yeah.
69 is where you want to be.
Yeah,
That's a good.
or 420. Yeah.
Or 420. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
ways to go yet.
For that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
That's coming up.
Yeah.
50 episodes away.
Yeah.
51.
Someone who smokes the ganja.
Where'd you go to high school? You went to QEH.
So
And
I
they
went.
tore it down.
They tore it down the
Yeah.
year after I graduated.
No way.
Yeah.
All right, Lund's gone. Let's
That's
tear
it.
down.
Yeah, not getting any better than this.
It's over.
Yeah, they built the Citadel, the new school. But I went for my grade 10 year, and then I was drafted by PEI. So I played a year and a half in PEI. So I did 11 and a half of 12 in PEI. And then I came back to QE to graduate, where I only had, at that time, I'd done a ton of courses through correspondence. So
Yeah.
I had enough credits so that I only had one class my second semester at QE. And it was a joke. I think it was like English or something like that, which was my best subject, so I didn't really need to apply myself. And I'd just show up half an hour late every class with Palace VIP written on my hand. Like just
The foul.
strolling in, hungover, got my Timmies in my hand, and then as soon as that Timmies was done, I'd pop a lipper in and toss a dank in the middle of class. It was a fucking joke,
High
man.
school,
In high
Palace
school.
VIP,
Oh, yeah.
dollar beers. Wow.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I had this great fake ID for a while. It was awesome until it was seized, and I was actually okay. So the Moose had just gotten eliminated. This
Yeah.
was in like April, I guess it was. This was the year that Marchand and Voracek were on the team. Bryce Swan.
Can you? Sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
can you tell us any behind the scenes Marchand stories after what you're about to tell me for the Mooseheads?
Yeah, I mean,
But
like,
you don't have to tell me now. Like, just,
well,
just-
to be honest, like I've known Brad my entire life. We've played against each other since I was. And he's 1 year older than me, so every second year we'd play against each other.
Yeah.
And there was that year where they took a year out in minor hockey, so we ended up playing against each other for 3 years straight. Lot of spears and slashes and dirty stick work in those exchanges. Or what he was famous for a couple of years there was turtling, where he'd see you coming for a hit because he knew that he'd pissed you off and you were trying to get some retribution on him.
Yeah.
And he, at the last second, he'd duck down to his knees and you'd go flying over the back of him. Oh, fucking bastard.
still doing it.
I know. He's toned it down quite a bit, thankfully, but I think he got suspended a few times for it. Such a cheap shot. But that's the kind of guy he is,
Yeah.
He'll do anything to win. God love him.
What was
But,
Voracek? Oh, sorry. Keep going.
Yeah. No, so I don't really have a ton of experience with Marshy because that was when I was my most concussed. So I was sitting out a lot of those games.
Yeah.
I didn't play a ton with him. I wasn't with the team. I couldn't travel with the team. So I kind of missed out on those few months when he was in Halifax. I can distinctly remember, the energy shifting in the room. Like there was a big swing in Dick in the team now.
Yeah.
After he just won the World Juniors.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming in as a highly touted 20-year-old, destined to make the NHL hometown exactly. So he was full of piss and vinegar, and I know that he did a few things that really pissed me off on the ice.
Really?
Like he would dipsy doodle a lot. Like he had so much confidence that he would just try to hang on to the puck and dangle people for like, an entire minute of a shift. And there would be times when he's like up around the blue line and I'm the defenseman just sort of handcuffed there. Like, what do I do? Do I back off? Do I hold the line? I don't know what to do. And then he'd turn the puck over and it'd be a breakaway and I'm chasing the guy down. Like, he did that a number of times to me where I was like, for Christ's sake, this guy's going to fucking rein it in here.
And I'm sure the coaching staff was even more upset. Maybe.
Yeah, but again, like he'd already won a Mem Cup. Like, he'd already won the World Juniors. Like, you know, it was over for him. Like, he wasn't as invested. And the team didn't go as far as they could have gone. I think they were missing some pieces anyway, but
there's so many rumors about that year because it was like on paper it was the best team, like very very good.
Yeah,
but it just never. There's just like a lot of like speculation about that year. What was going on?
I think it's because they were missing number 4 on the blue line. Yeah, he was too busy at Palace VIP.
Number 4? You went with number 4?
I had number 4. Yeah.
Wow.
I was number 2 my whole career.
Ballsy, man.
And then
Bondarchuk
had number 2, so I had to
Did you give it to him?
4. No. He was the captain. He
there.
had first right of refusal. But
Bobby
yeah, I'm not a number 4. That's for sure. It was Luciano Lomano. He had it, and then we were traded for each other. So I took his number. He took mine in PEI. But
where'd you sit in the room?
Geez.
So you walk in. There's a far wall.
Yeah, I was to the left.
So you got the
by
slant.
I was by the tendies. I think.
Oh, you're on the corner? That's where I sat too.
Near to the corner, yeah.
I was in the corner.
Yeah.
Barely could
schmelt. Yeah, you would
just
be. Yeah.
If you're a call up for the Mooseheads,
yeah, you're relegated
you're lucky
to the corner.
if you get a helmet.
Yeah.
You're lucky.
That's funny, man.
What was Voracek like in the room? Was he awkward as like a Czech kid?
No.
I heard his English wasn't good. Or did he fit right in?
He was the best.
Was he the best?
I fucking love Jacob Voracek.
What was the best about him?
And everybody loves him, man. Like, he was such a funny guy. Like, I think if he was able to speak his own language, he would have us all in stitches at all times. Like, he's just a funny guy. His English is great now.
Yeah.
But he was just the greatest energy. He'd come into the room all the time, all smiles, just like so happy to be there, just always down to make somebody laugh. And he really cared a lot about the team's success.
That's awesome.
He fought a number of times. Like, I remember my first training camp with him, we had this huge brawl against PEI. Or actually, no, I was playing with PEI against the Mooseheads, and he had a fight in that game. And I was like, wow, that Voracek guy, like, he's the real deal. I'd sit next to him a few times on the bus, and he'd play tunes for me. Like, he's like, Lanner, this song is the best, dude. And I'm like, shit, yeah, like, what song is it? Like, what are you listening to, dude? And he'd give me an earbud, and it was Girls Just Want to Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper. And, like, these are the tunes that he's listening to. We're all listening to, like, Eminem and all these, like, gangster rap and stuff before the game.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's, like, listening into
Girls
80s pop rock.
Fun.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's the best, dude. He would eat McDonald's all the time.
Oh, yeah?
All the time. He
McDonald's.
loved it.
Did they have that in Czech Republic, McDonald's?
I don't think they had a lot of them. Maybe they did have a few, but he was obsessed with it.
Oh, yeah?
And, like, but he could still, skate like the wind, and he was in decent enough shape. Like, we were all just like, dude, you shouldn't be eating that. Like, we're not eating that nearly as often as you are. Like, we all did crush McDonald's from time to time because we were, 16, 17 years old.
Goes right through you.
Exactly, yeah. We're burning 12,000 calories a day. But yeah, he would have Pepsi on the bench. Just like the most unusual thing. We had some Czech players or teams come over for different tournaments over my junior or my minor hockey career, and they would all drink Pepsi on the bench too. Like, it was.
Ovechkin does it too. It's
it's
the sugar. Right?
It's the sugar, I guess. Yeah. It was completely ridiculous to us back in the day. Like, what is this about? But yeah,
that's crazy. Do you ever have them over for dinner or anything like that? You ever like?
It's not back in those days. I don't think. I mean, we spent so much time together anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I was actually, because I was living in Halifax, I had my own group of friends outside of the team. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that must be interesting. Did the guys that were on the team that come from away, like, hey, Lund, like, can we hang? Like, because they didn't really have a social clique other than the team. Did they ever try to get away and try to hang out with you? And,
yeah,
like,
no, they kind of kept to each other.
Yeah.
And I had my high school buddies.
Yeah.
So which was great. I saw enough of them. I wasn't kind of like, again, this is like when I was struggling with my identity, and I felt like a sheep in wolf's clothing. I was the kind of guy that could walk the walk and talk the talk, but they weren't the kind of guys that I was feeling mentally stimulated by and wanted to be around at all times. Like, they just, no offense to them whatsoever. And I'm not talking about every single person on the but just like that dynamic of having that many hockey players around each other. I'd done that my whole life, and I was starting to kind of grow tired of it and wanted something a little bit more interesting. So I think I regarded hanging out with the boys all the time as a bit of a regression, whereas I was more interested in, talking about movies and, art in some kind of way, or something that was a little bit more stimulating to me. Anyway, but there were times that I went out with the boys, including, and I have to tell this story, when that team was ultimately eliminated from the playoffs. And I was a big bar star at that point because I was concussed for like many months. There was no chance of me making a comeback, right? Yeah. So like when playoffs started, I was kind of just checked out. So I would go to the games and sit up in the press box and whatever, and just make plans for that night.
Did they give you food in the press box back then? I'm sorry, I got to interrupt you. You got Subway up there back then?
I think we got Subway.
Okay, that's it. Go back to the story. I got to see the only thing.
Yeah, maybe a bit of popcorn every once in a while, but So I was out at the bar, but this was also grade 12, and I don't know if this is the case in all provinces, but in Nova Scotia there were the provincial equivalency exams for math, English, and science. And English, no problem. Science, not much of an issue. Math, big time fucking issue. So I had a tutor that I would go to on the weekly during that grade 12 year to try to pass this provincial math exam, because it was just not my strength, and I just didn't care about it, couldn't apply myself, just like was learning Japanese, for me. And so the boys get eliminated, and they all go out to the Dome that night to drown their sorrows. And I am in line with them. I'm 18 at the time. I'm in line with them at the Dome, but I have no plans to go in. I'm just sort of waiting with them until they go in, and then I was going to go home because I had my provincial math exam the next day. So I'm waiting in lineup, and I was sober as a judge, but I had to pee. And I go across the street to Parade Square, and I drain the main vein. Only just before I'd finished and was able to zip my fly, I see the red and blue lights behind me, and the paddy wagon is there, and they're already on the way out of the paddy wagon. They're like, "All right, fella, you're coming with us for the night." And I was like, "Oh,
you're sober."
No, sober. I'm like, no. You don't understand. Listen, I am sober, totally sober. And they're like, yeah, we've heard that one before, pal. Like, come on. No. And they're like, "Let me see your ID." And I was like, shit. And the only ID I had on me was my fake ID. And they took one look at it. It's one thing to fool a bouncer. It's another thing to fool a cop. Yeah. And they knew exactly that it was fake. And they're like, this is not you. And my buddy, John MacArthur, who was going out with us at the time too, he was screaming from the line at the Dome. He goes, "Number 4 in your programs, number 1 in your hearts." And I was like, Jesus Christ, that's really not helping things, man. So they throw me in the back of the paddy wagon and take me to the drunk tank. And that whole night, I'm pleading with the cops. I'm like, "Listen, look at me. Look me in the eye. I am sober. I have a math exam in the morning. Like, I can't be here, dude. I need to go home and study. My mother is going to castrate me if this doesn't work out." So they weren't having any of it. So I just spent the whole night there. There was like tons of shit that went on. I tried to get some sleep, and then people started filtering into the big cell, which is like a concrete slab and a fucking, the bars on the doors or whatever. This guy came in, and he was like trying to cuddle with me, and then somebody else got into a fight with that guy, and there was like blood everywhere. It was pandemonium. And so after that, kind of the dust settled a little bit, the cops came by to check on us, and they see the blood and what's going on. This guy's screaming and needs medical attention. So they take him away to go get stitched up at the hospital. And I grab one of the cops. I'm like, "Listen, look at me. My name is Steve Lund. I play for the Mooseheads. Come on, man. Like, can this give me any kind of clout here? Like, I need to get out of here. Look at me. I'm sober as a judge. I have this fucking math exam." And the cop looks at me, and she goes, "I know you." And I'm like, "Oh, perfect. Yes." She's like, I'll be right back. And I'm like, amazing. And I'm just like, you know.
I can't believe it took you this long to drop the Mooseheads card.
Well, nobody was coming by. This was like 6 hours later.
I would have dropped it when I was peeing. Like, if they would have came up to me.
Did. I was with my team, but those cops, they were such assholes because they saw my fake ID. I think they were like, well, you buckled yourself here, pal. You've got no choice. So the cop, she's like, I'll be right back. I'm like, sick. I'm like, fuck all y'all. I'm getting out of here. She comes back with a pen and a piece of paper just like this. And I was like, what is this? And she passes it through the bars and she goes, can you sign this for my daughter? It was the oddest autograph I've ever given. So I was like, oh my God. So I wrote something like, Jesus. She goes, oh, watch out for the blood. I'm like, oh my God. Stay out of trouble. Steve Lund, number 4. Boom. Handed it to her. She goes, thanks so much. My daughter's going to love this. And then goes away, disappears for another hour and a half. Now at this point, it's 9:30 in the morning, and the exam is at 10. And
at QEH,
like
you're right next to it.
Right next to it, exactly, just on the other side of the hill. If I'm more than a half an hour late, they shut the doors. I can't write the exam. I get an automatic 0. So at 9:30, they call my name, and it's finally time because I went in at 9:30. It's 12 hours for us to sober up, even though I hadn't had a goddamn drop of booze all night. And so they call my name finally. You know, I get signed out. They're giving me my shoelaces and everything like that, my personal effects, my cell phone. My girlfriend at the time was just like, you're cheating on me, aren't you? I was like, no, babe, you don't understand. He meant nothing to me.
He cuddled me first.
Yeah. So, and I'm like, geez, I'm stressing out. How am I'm going to have to walk to QE right now. I don't have any money or anything like that. And I hear my name, Lunder. And I look behind me, and there were these 2 twin cops who had done work with the Mooseheads. They were like these, I don't know, constables or whatever. Great guys. I can't remember their name right now, but they were like real buddy with the team. They would take us on ride-alongs and stuff like that.
I know who these people are.
Both bald?
Yes.
Okay.
They were there when I was there.
Okay, yeah. Awesome guys. Again, I can't remember their name. I'll have to fact check them. But they're like, what are you doing here? And I was like, boys, this is a situation. I need a ride to school. Can you give me a lift? And they're like, sure, buddy. Hop in the fucking paddy wagon or hop in the squad car. Flick the lights on. Rip me to QEH. Like, everybody's all inside. It's like 10:15 at this point. They're all writing their exams. And I pull into the quad, with this cop car. I got bar stamps all over me. And I'm running in. And I'm like, oh, shit, wait, I don't have a pencil. I'm like, hey, boys, can I borrow a pencil? One of them throws one at me, catch it. Hey, thanks a lot, man. We'll see you later. Run inside, get in there like 10:20. Everyone's just like, what the fuck, dude? And I'm like, don't ask me. It's been the longest, and I look like shit. Shut up. I sit down, I write the exam, and I got a 52%, and I passed provincial math. Yeah.
Let's take a second here and just... Because I know probably as a grown man that still has some effect on you sitting in that cell all night. And for you to pass, get a 52.
Oh,
congratulations.
Man. Yeah. All those hours of doing the tutoring, like all 52. Year. Oh,
that's incredible. What a
story. The best
story.
52 I've ever had.
Yeah. The fact that you got your laces back. I've known people that have had to come to meetings the next day, don't have laces. They're coming in the flop. You got your laces back, so that's good.
It's a rite of passage to be in the drunk tank. I kind of wish that I was drunk. It was
being there sober is
really shitty, dude.
Because you can't sleep.
Yeah.
If you're hammered, you pass out.
Yeah, exactly.
What a story.
Mm-hmm.
What a story.
Yeah.
That's
glad
crazy.
I was here to tell it, man. Yeah. Yeah, the oddest autograph I've ever signed, for sure.
I thought you were out. Did you think you were out of there?
Yes.
You're like, oh, I'm out of here.
Of course. I was like, oh, thank God you're saving my life. Of course. I'll give you this autograph in exchange for you to spring me a little early here so I can go and run over my notes before I got to write this.
I want to get a picture, too, while you're at it. Jesus, imagine between the bars.
Yeah. Iconic. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. Dude, I don't know if I got anything else for you. I think you covered it all.
Good note to end on.
Oh, that's a hell of a note to end on.
Perfect,
dude, I feel like you're just getting started in your journey.
Yeah.
You're going to come back here next year. We'll see where you're
I'll
at.
do episode 420 if you don't get there in the next year.
I like that.
Yeah.
We'll get a studio that's more puff friendly.
Yeah.
It doesn't go
up to it.
I guess you could, but
yeah, we'll hotbox this place. Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
That'd be a hilarious episode.
Steve, you're the man. Thanks you
Thanks
very
so
much for coming
buddy.
on. I appreciate it.
Congrats to you on the podcast, man.
Oh, thank you.
Everything's going well. Good for you, buddy.
I appreciate that. Everything.
You made the right decision staying in Halifax. How's that?
I like that.
Yeah.
But if I ever need to come visit somewhere, make sure you just have a couch so I can crash. If you're in LA, Vancouver, just make sure.
Yeah, man, you know. No
Go
doubt.
interview the Canucks, stay at your place, go back to the rink.
Yeah.
Figure it out. All right, man.
We will.
All
Take
right,
care.
everyone listening, thank you very much for tuning in. It's Monday, beginning of the week. Work hard, have fun, stay safe, get out on the lake, go skating.
Yeah, do it.
I think that's all I got to say. Once again, thank you very much to everyone for listening. Stay safe, have fun. We're out.
Thanks, y'all. Peace.